Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Corinne, and in this video we're going to be discussing the benefits of mindfulness and how it helps us with negativity, with negative thoughts in our mind. So I find that during these troubled times, more than ever, this is a very valid topic to be discussing because the ill effects of COVID fatigue, now that we are more than a year into this illness, this pandemic, are being felt all around the world by everyone in all levels of society. This is not to say that we should forget about all the other factors that we were already experiencing before COVID started, which have, of course, also remained with us. What I'm trying to say is that we were already leading very stressful lives before COVID, and all these factors, overwork, stress, anxiety, traffic, environmental issues, global change, all of these are still with us and becoming perhaps worse due to COVID. So it is very important that we have this discussion about our mental health, what is affecting our mental health, and how we can improve the space that is our mind, basically. So our negative mental chatter may come from various sources and can take on many different shapes and forms. Self-criticism, self-judgment. We may be suffering from guilt. We may be suffering from anxiety or have anxious thoughts. We may be suffering from feelings of isolation or feelings of being unloved. All of this negative mental chatter may also take the form of self-pity or turn into aggression. We all have an element of self-talk, and the mind is very good at keeping us company. It's always with us, and it always wants to help. We're always aware, so it always brings up more and more. However, what happens when we take these thoughts too seriously, when we live too much in our mind, we become trapped in a place which perhaps is too thorny, not a garden of flowers, but a garden of thorny bushes. And we identify too much with these thoughts, with this negativity, and with these feelings. And this sense of identification brings a lot of suffering to us. And this is a vicious circle because the reason the mind, it's a helpful organ, and the mind is very helpful to bring up unhappinesses from previous experiences, to create shortcuts. Of course, this is a survival instinct, and it is very helpful when we need to jump out of the path of an oncoming car. But this this is an exception, and it's not the rule. So in our day-to-day life, when the mind brings up other instances of when we failed, when we felt sad, when we felt anxious or angry or critical, we end up reliving all of these moments because the mind is creating shortcuts in our head. And without knowing, we end up feeling all the effects of these previous times when we felt all of these issues. And we are perpetuating this negative self-narrative, the negative mental chatter. So the lesson to take from this is that we are not our thoughts. We are not our emotions. So at this point, I think that it is very helpful to remember what the definition of mindfulness is. So mindfulness is the practice of paying attention in the present moment, doing so intentionally and with non-judgment. But when we are judging and criticizing and labeling things, we are anything but being mindful. There is no kindness in any of these actions. And we are not in the present moment because we are caught up in our mind, chasing our own tail, as it were. When our feelings of anxiety lead us to imagine all kinds of catastrophes, again, we are not being kind to ourselves, and we are not in the present moment. Our thoughts turn to the future, and it's like a runaway train. One thought brings on another and another, until we can be crippled by fear and anxiety. So there is no intention, no presence, and no kindness in this practice. So this endless chasing of our own tail, or this rumination, being caught up in our own mind, leads to heightened levels of stress. If we look at it from a scientific point of view, we know what is happening is that the amygdala, that part of our brain which is responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze response, is in hyperactive mode. So the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala bursts open, basically. The response is instinctive, and our prefrontal cortex is no longer sheltering the instinct, our most ancient response, that to fight, flee, or freeze. And when we are in a continuous state of being stressed, always on the go, never stopping to rest, always experiencing a million and one things coming at us, then we may experience this instinct to fight, flee, or freeze more often. And this becomes somewhat of a cycle. So this hyperactive mode of the amygdala takes over, and it perpetuates itself. And this is where mindfulness comes in. The regular practice of mindfulness gives the mind space from these thoughts or feelings, and we no longer feel this single identification with our thoughts and with our feelings. When we practice mindfulness more regularly, we foster this inner self, which is found in each and every one of us. And this is the self which is beyond thoughts and feelings. And this is the self that we connect to when we are, when we practice being. This is the space in our mind that we foster, and it helps us to become more aware of our thoughts. And when we become more aware of our thoughts, in that moment, we realize that we have a choice whether to chase our thoughts, whether to get caught up in this spiral which can go out of control, or we may choose not to engage with these thoughts. So that space, that meditation, that mindfulness gives us awareness, and the awareness gives us a choice. It's a circuit breaker, this beautiful mindfulness practice. It's a way of breaking the cycle. We enter into the being mode, and when we are in the being mode, we experience the world more directly. And when we experience the world more directly, we are more open to everything that is beautiful around us. And we are more open to gratitude. And we are more open to joy. And how can we break that circuit? We break that circuit by following the breath, by grounding ourselves in the present moment, and coming home to the body, coming home to the breath. And it's a simple exercise. We can close our eyes or leave our eyes open, and we simply feel the in-breath and the out-breath. we continue following this process of following the in-breath and the out-breath. And we note in which part of the body we can feel the rising sensation on the in-breath and the falling sensation on the out-breath. We might feel the breath in our nostrils. We might feel the breath in our chest, in our abdomen. We feel it in different places. Different people feel it more strongly in different places, and that is fine. But by tapping into our breath and following the breath, we ground ourselves and we distance ourselves from the constant thinking that our mind is so good at. I hope that you found this video useful, and I thank you for watching. Please feel free to follow me for more videos as these come up. Thank you.